Fumes from factories, power plants, and wildfires. Exhaust from cars, trucks, buses, and ships. Dirty air can be a problem in many U.S. cities, and even places you don't expect. Breathing unhealthy air can lead to lung problems, heart attacks, even death. What can you do to protect your health?
How you feeling? Nice and slow, okay?
5-year-old Devin knows what it's like to suffer from asthma aggravated by air pollution.
Your head keeps on getting tighter and tighter and tighter.
When a severe attack strikes, Devin's mom races him to the hospital.
He had the second nebulizer treatment. Nothing was helping, so I decided that I had to bring him to the ER.
Asthma wears on children and takes a toll on parents, too.
Very scary. It takes a lot out of you. It makes me angry because he can't do the things that other children do.
Fortunately, Devin is treated at the emergency room and sent home.
Take it, go.
Okay, thank you.
Other kids aren't as lucky. Tanaya, just 3 years old, has been in the hospital for several days.
Hi, Tanaya. How you doing today?
Tanaya lives in Baltimore, where the cases of asthma have skyrocketed.
My chest was hurting,
What else was hurting?
and my stomach.
It was scary, just seeing all the tubes and everything in her arms and seeing her in pain.
In the United States, more than 20 million people suffer from asthma, and almost half of them are children. Scientists have long known that polluted air can trigger asthma attacks. But a recent study reveals a new possibility.
We've recently published a paper that is one of the first that shows a potential causative link between air pollution and new asthma. We're talking about air pollution actually bringing on the definition of asthma in a child.
Known as the Children's Health Study, there were approximately 6,000 participants from 12 different communities scattered throughout Southern California. Over a period of 10 years, beginning in 1993, a team of researchers tested the children's lungs to determine how fast they were growing and how well they were functioning.
We're picking an age range where the children are developing very rapidly. They're going through puberty, and so they're experiencing a growth spurt. So the idea is that if air pollution is having an effect on growing tissue, that might be a particularly good time to see its effects.
And the results were sobering, including development of asthma, more frequent respiratory illness, and a decrease in lung function, even among children that did not have asthma.
If you follow the pollution patterns, they typically peak in the hours from, say, 3 to 6 in the afternoon. And that correlates very well with when we see kids outside and being active.
And anyone who is active outdoors is at greater risk when ozone is at its worst. There's good ozone and bad ozone, and it's important to know the difference.
That the ozone way up high in the stratosphere is good ozone. It protects us from UV, ultraviolet rays, and helps to reduce the incidence of skin cancer.
But here on the Earth's surface, ground-level ozone in the air we breathe can be harmful to all of us.
The ozone in the surface is created by emissions from automobiles, from power plants, from industrial sources, in conjunction with sunlight. That's what forms ozone at the surface. We've always called it smog because you could see it, but in reality, you really can't see ozone. What you're seeing is ozone mixed with particles that create that summertime brown haze.
Cities in the summertime are ripe for unhealthy conditions.
Baltimore in particular is affected by asthma above what you would see in other communities.
Dr. Bollinger observes that asthma rates among children here are 3 times the national average.
We have some levels as high as 20% in some schools.
Among chronic childhood diseases, asthma is the #1 cause of school absences nationwide. Health officials in Baltimore are combating this crisis with the Breathmobile. Doctors travel to schools treating kids with asthma.
And we're only touching 23 out of 180 schools in Baltimore. And so we're only seeing a small tip of the iceberg.
Blow.
Good, all the way out.
Like you're sucking a straw.
Suck it all the way back in. Good.
What asthma patients need, what we all need, is to know when the air's dangerous to breathe. And now we can, through a program called Air Now, made available from EPA, state and local air agencies.
We have over 300 cities issuing air quality forecasts every day. We provide real-time air quality coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year for ozone and for particulate matter.
Air quality data is translated into a color-coded guide that is easy to read. Called the Air Quality Index, or AQI, it shows you how clean or dirty the air is and how to plan activities to protect yourself.
It boils a lot of this science down to a product that's easy to communicate and easy to understand.
The AQI is easily accessible on the internet, newspapers, even television.
Toward Atlanta, and of course, primarily the ozone levels will be high in the afternoon.
You use a weather forecast every day to find out whether you need a coat, whether you need to take an umbrella. An air quality forecast is something that you can use to breathe.
People respond differently to levels of ozone in the air. If you have asthma or other respiratory problems, you ought to pay attention on a code orange day. And on high-risk days, when the AQI reaches code red, all of us should take precaution and cut back on strenuous activities.
We have got bad air quality. Code red in effect for the next probably 24 to 36 hours, so kind of relax, take it easy, because the air is not going to be that good.
Coming up, another brand of bad air attacks our health, and it's even more harmful than ozone. What is it? Stay tuned. Wildfires rage across the Los Angeles basin during October of 2003. Roughly 750,000 acres burned. Smoke blackens the sky for miles.
And literally, this was a plume that enveloped over all of Southern California. It was essentially a catastrophe that no one really expected to occur, and we hadn't seen the likes of it in decades.
More than 15 million people are in the path of the smoke. Levels of particle pollution are 20 times higher than normal.
During the fire, if you were standing at this monitoring station, particles of ash were actually falling down on our head.
As smoke blankets the city, residents use air quality information to keep safe. When the air is thick with smoke, the danger is evident. But few people realize that even on a typical day, harmful particles may lurk in your air.
The World Health Organization has estimated that every year, 500,000 people a year die because of particle pollution.
Worse than ozone, particle pollution is our deadliest air quality problem. Scientists are learning that breathing these tiny bits of dust, dirt, and soot can cause severe health problems and even shorten life.
There are studies that show that people who live in cities that are highly polluted live on average 2 years less than people who live in cities that are not heavily polluted.
Since many particles are invisible to the naked eye, you don't always see how dirty the air can be.
Now this filter here actually starts out like this, and it's put into an analyzer which pulls air through the filter at a known rate, and we're able to calculate by weighing these filters how many particles are in the air. After a while, as you can clearly see, these filters start to look a little bit like your lungs.
Epidemiologists like Arden Pope conduct studies that trace the link between air pollution and health risks.
So, for example, we'll monitor air pollution in a community and look at the day-to-day changes in these levels of exposure, and then see if there are changes in various health outcomes, such as day-to-day changes in mortality, day-to-day changes in hospitalizations.
And we know from such epidemiologic studies that particles are related with worsening of asthma, worsening of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and even death.
Human test subjects are voluntarily breathing in particle pollution to assist research studies.
We can replicate particle exposures that are found in most major metropolitan cities like Los Angeles or New York. You can start pedaling now, Andy. This particular instrument measures the ability of them to take a deep breath and how well they can breathe. They blow through a mouthpiece, and the computer that's attached to this measures how well their lungs are functioning.
And it's not only your lungs that research scientists are studying. There is an increasing concern that heart-related health problems are aggravated by particle pollution.
You know, certain people are at higher risk from particle pollution. People who have heart disease, people who have diabetes, and the elderly seem to be at increased risk from complications of particle pollution.
Particle pollution surrounds us, and it's not just outdoors. Pollution can be trapped in houses, schools, offices, even automobiles. One EPA study involved North Carolina state troopers who spend most days inside a patrol car.
We did a study which tried to examine particles derived from what we call mobile sources. Those are all the cars and trucks and buses whizzing by you when you're driving on a freeway.
We were interested to know what were the levels inside the car when they were driving, when they were stopped at intersections, what they were doing, whether they had their windows open or closed, whether they ran their air conditioning or not. All those are important variables.
Particle levels measured inside the vehicle were compared with samples taken outside along the freeway. The study shows particles inside the car were more potent.
I think our biggest surprise was that the roadside particles were not very toxic. We would have thought that they might have been just as toxic as particles inside the car. And the reason for that is because as cars go by, they kick up dust and dirt and debris, and those particles are not really as toxic as the particles that may be derived from burning of fuel oil, which is what's happening in car engines.
And it's the pollution from other car engines that gets trapped inside your car. The study also determined that even in young, healthy patrolmen, particles can impact the ability of the nervous system to regulate heartbeat and cause vascular inflammation. Yet the troopers showed no visible symptoms.
These changes are very insidious. You would never feel these changes, and that's one of the problems. And unlike ozone and asthma, where you can actually feel these symptoms, with particles, usually the first symptom you might feel is you die or you need to go to the emergency room.
And pinpointing individuals who are most susceptible is difficult.
This is the problem. There's one individual who will die in the city of Philadelphia on a daily basis of air pollution particles. How do you find that person? You don't. They come in, they may have died of a heart attack, they may have died of COPD, they may have died of asthma, but you're never going to look at a death certificate and see died of air pollution particle.
You know, one of the things I think you have to understand is that this is really new. And physicians in general don't say anything to their patients about air pollution. So, you know, in my practice, I'm only beginning to even introduce it.
To be safe, take precautions. If you have heart disease, talk with your doctor about pollution. If you have asthma, you can use symptoms as a guide. And everyone can use Air Now to stay informed.
Reduce your exertion level, reduce your breathing level. Once that happens, the symptoms should go away. If they do, that's an indication that you've reduced your activity level enough. Now, for people with heart disease, they should talk to their physicians before engaging in vigorous outdoor activity when air pollution levels are high.
Remember, not all pollution is as obvious as the fumes from a raging wildfire. Protect your lungs, your heart, maybe even your life. Coming up, your next vacation could be hazardous to your health. Some of our dirtiest air is found where you would least expect it. Find out where next.
Pollution is not something that just stays within state boundaries.
Parks like Great Smoky Mountains, Sequoia, Kings Canyon, Shenandoah, and Joshua Tree. Most people think this is the cleanest air in the whole country. They're wrong. Bad air plagues our national parks.
Air pollution is not something that just stays within state boundaries or county boundaries. It moves.
Particles can travel thousands of miles, and they do.
A lot of people come to these national parks during the summer months. That's when visitation is the highest, and unfortunately, that's when air pollution can be the highest. So you got millions of people coming to these places expecting clean, clear air, and a lot of times when they get there, it's worse at the parks than where they came from.
The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is the most frequented, with 9 million visitors a year. Unfortunately, pollution gives new meaning to the Smoky in Great Smoky Mountains.
There's been over 300 bad air days at Great Smoky Mountains National Park over the last 15 years. That's completely unacceptable.
Areas like the Smoky Mountains in North Carolina, transport coming probably from power plants in the southeast is causing higher ozone levels than you would expect from what you think would be a pristine area.
And particle pollution, also known as haze, obscures the natural beauty.
Visibility on average in the summer is about 12 miles. It should be closer to 77, so we're a long ways to go to get to natural condition.
While particle pollution ruins the scenic views in our parks, ground-level ozone attacks the forests, stunting vegetation and weakening healthy trees.
We know at Great Smokies there are 30 species of plants that are showing visible damage and growth effects from ozone pollution.
At the opposite end of the country, Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks share a similar plight. These parks are home to the most massive trees on Earth and many species of wildlife. Tourists worry that this special place will disappear.
I'm not very happy about seeing problems with pollution in a national park, especially a national treasure like Sequoia National Forest, where we have trees that are approaching 3,000 years old, and I hate to see us lose those on the basis of just pollution.
Ozone levels in Sequoia National Park are sometimes greater than that of downtown Los Angeles. This happens when wind transports ozone from metropolitan areas to Sequoia National Park, where it becomes trapped in the park's large valley.
We're surrounded by Jeffrey and Ponderosa pines, which are very sensitive to ozone, and you could walk up to more than half of these trees and find some level of damage in the needles.
Annie Esperanza, who's been working in Sequoia for the past 20 years, sees little improvement in the air.
In some urban areas in California, they're seeing ozone levels drop a little bit, but in more rural and remote areas, like national parks, the ozone values that we're seeing are not changing significantly. They're not getting better.
Sequoia exceeds the national health standards for ozone more days per summer than any other park in the country. Stop by the Visitors Center and check the air quality index when you arrive.
This is the air quality index. It shows the rating of the air for the day. Today's forecast is good. It means that there's not any pollution in the air. Unhealthy for all means that the air's not healthy for anybody.
Planning ahead can make for a healthier experience.
Ozone tends to peak out in the afternoon, somewhere around 3 to 6 p.m. here in this park. And that's a time of day that we hope that the park visitor and the park employee will understand that they should be reducing their exposure by dropping their activity level.
You need to look at this before you go on a hike because it will teach you how, when to hike and how the air quality will be.
Does a solution for bad air exist?
The air pollution problem, it's taken many decades to get into this mess. It's probably going to take maybe that long to get back out of it, but we can do it.
Air pollution is all around us. It's everyone's responsibility. Coming up, EPA makes headway in the fight against bad air quality, but it needs your help. Find out what you can do next. still lie ahead. Many regions of the country still fail air quality standards set by the Environmental Protection Agency.
That's true. We do not have air yet that's clean enough. We have too much air that makes people sick, and we've still got a ways to go. The fact is, it's at least half the country breathing bad air.
The economic repercussions of bad air are staggering. According to EPA, health-related costs of air pollution reach hundreds of billions of dollars each year. Lives are at risk.
What's choking the community? Things like the cars we drive, the power plants that burn fossil fuels like coal. Sometimes it's even just the evaporation of paint and things. Lots of things contribute to it, but that means there's a lot of things we can clean up that can give us cleaner air.
Check the air quality index each day. Plan your activities, then try to help reduce pollution. Car engine exhaust is a major source of air pollution, so make an effort to carpool, walk, bike, or take mass transit. On a bad air quality day, postpone mowing the lawn, painting, and using household chemicals. Wait until the sun sets to fill up your car, do laundry, or run the dishwasher. These small changes help us all breathe easier.
The ongoing challenge that we face is having people realize that in many ways the problem is us.
Cities and states around the country are doing their part to reduce air pollution through awareness campaigns and voluntary programs.
We're from the Clean Air Campaign. We're a nonprofit, and we work with companies to get their employees information about how you can get to work a little bit easier.
Really? So the air pollution is really getting bad here.
It is, and traffic is one of the main sources of the air pollution.
Right.
Spare the Air is a voluntary public education program, and it really has two tacks, if you will. One, we ask drivers to voluntarily reduce their driving when we are experiencing poor air quality, and we've been doing it for 15 years in the Sacramento area with a consistent commitment, and that's really what it takes.
As our nation becomes more air aware, we realize that not only are we part of the problem, we are the solution.